If you've ever dealt with chronic ankle instability, that awful feeling like your ankle could give out at any second, then you know how much it can hold you back. Well, there's a popular new surgical fix called the internal brace that promises athletes, and really everyone, a stronger, faster recovery. But is this high-tech solution really the miracle it's cracked up to be? You have to admit, the marketing is genius. The company that makes it, Arthrex, came up with this really powerful seatbelt analogy. The idea sounds great. A super strong tape gets placed right alongside your healing ligament. It's supposed to act just like a seatbelt in your car, staying loose while you move normally, but then catching you and tightening up to prevent another sprain. It's an incredibly compelling pitch. Now, here's what's so interesting. This new mechanical fix is pushing aside a biological one that's been the gold standard for decades. The traditional Brostrom procedure is way simpler. The surgeon just tightens the patient's own stretched out ligaments. It works with the body's natural design, and get this, it has a proven success rate of over 90%. So why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? And that is exactly where the story starts to change. Because despite all the hype, surgeons are starting to see a wave of complications. We're talking patients with chronic pain, ankles that are so stiff they can't walk on uneven ground, and revision surgeries that are just an absolute mess. So it begs the question, what happens when that seatbelt isn't just there for the crash? What if it's locked on tight all the time? To start to unpack this, the first place our source material looks is, well, the money. Whenever a new medical device gets this popular this fast, it's always a good idea to ask who's really benefiting from all this. Let's just start with this number, $446,000. According to public data, that's how much a single key surgeon who happens to publish a lot of the positive research on the internal brace received in royalties from the manufacturer, Arthrex, and that's in just 1 year. And he's definitely not the only one. This chart here lays it all out. The main authors publishing the positive studies on this device are often getting paid a lot by the company. You can see two kinds of payments, consulting fees, that's in blue, and royalties in red. Now royalties, that's the real kicker. It creates a direct financial incentive. The more these devices that get sold, the more money the surgeon who holds the patent makes. So the huge point our source makes is that this whole situation creates a potential echo chamber. Think about it. When the research supporting a new technology is funded and written by the very same people who are profiting from its sales, it can look like everyone agrees it's a great idea, even if other independent surgeons are seeing major problems in their own clinics. Okay, so if their research might be a little biased, what about the basic science? I mean, does it even make sense? The technology behind this brace is used in other joints, and it works pretty well in the knee. But, and this is a huge but, the main argument against it is that the ankle is a totally different beast. This slide really breaks it down. On the left, you've got the knee's ACL. It pretty much acts like a simple hinge. Its ligament is what we call isometric, which means it stays roughly the same length when the knee bends. But the ankle, on the right, it's this incredibly complex system that moves in all directions, and its key ligament is anisometric. So what on earth does that mean? Anisometry is the whole ball game here. It just means the ankle ligament is dynamic. It has to stretch and shorten a lot as your foot points up, down, and rolls side to side to deal with the ground. A static, non-stretching piece of tape just can't do that. It's physically incapable of behaving like a real ligament. And this graph shows you the actual numbers. It's pretty stark. See the gray line? That's the knee's ACL. It's almost flat. The ligament's length barely changes at all. Now, look at the red line for the ankle. Whoa. It stretches over 14% in just 30 degrees of motion. Trying to chain that dynamic ligament to a static tape is it's like locking your seatbelt while you're still trying to lean forward and drive. It just doesn't work. This brings us to the implant itself, because it's not just about the joint's motion. There's also this fundamental clash between the stuff the implant is made of and, the stuff your body is made of. So your natural ligament, it's made of collagen. It's viscoelastic, which is a fancier way of saying it's smart. It's flexible when you're just moving around normally, but it stiffens up instantly to protect you from an injury. The suture tape, on the other hand, is made of an industrial-grade polyethylene. It's just extremely stiff all the time. It doesn't adapt, which means it can actually block your normal motion. And this chart really just says it all. The blue bar is the stiffness of the fiber tape used in the internal brace. The green bar shows another material that was actually designed to be more flexible, to act more like a real ligament. The difference is just staggering. The internal brace material is over 25 times stiffer. That's not a small difference, that's a massive mechanical mismatch. So what happens when you implant something that's stiff into a living system? Well, you get three huge problems. First, something called stress shielding. The tape is so strong that it takes all the force, so your own ligament never gets stimulated to heal and get stronger. It basically gets lazy and wastes away. Second, shock loading. Sudden forces go straight to the bone anchors, not the flexible ligament, and that can cause them to pull out or even break the bone. And finally, overconstraint. The joint is just physically locked up, unable to move the way it's supposed to. So we have a potential financial bias and a very clear biomechanical mismatch. How does all this theory actually play out for patients in the real world? Well, the sources describe what they call a cascade of complications. It usually starts with that feeling of overconstraint, the stiff, painful ankle. But it can get so much worse. A really common surgical error is accidentally placing an anchor into the joint below the ankle, and that just destroys the cartilage. So then when another surgeon has to go in to fix this mess, they find that pulling out those huge anchors leaves massive holes in the bone that have to be filled with bone grafts. It turns the revision into a total nightmare. And this quote from the source material just perfectly sums up the whole problem. The attractive promise of a seatbelt for emergencies completely falls apart when that same device is restricting your every single move. The seatbelt doesn't just protect you in a crash, it's tying you down during your daily commute. Ultimately, this whole story raises a much bigger question that goes way beyond just this one device for the ankle. In our rush to find a stronger, faster, high-tech fix for everything, how do we make sure our mechanical solutions don't end up creating even bigger biological problems? It's a really critical balancing act between amazing new technology, the wisdom of the human body, and of course the powerful influence of money and modern medicine.